Balake. Where is Balake at?
My name's Blake.
Do you want to go to war, Balake? I'm for real. Ron.
Ron is here with Vice Mayor of Clearwater, Florida, Wise Beard Man, the one and only Mark Bunker.
Yes. Good evening.
And you got a beautiful microphone there, too.
Oh, it is wonderful. Thank you so much for this. The sound is great. You know, this back right in college, I was at our college radio station running a department there. And then I got a job at a local radio station for about 3 years before I moved to LA. This is one of the first things you learn. You want to be no more than this away from the microphone. And the other thing is, if you're on the East Coast, all radio stations start with the letter W. So my manager said, say our station's call letters. And I said, WVMS. No, it's not W. It's W. So I had to practice that forever. WVMS.
So if all radio stations on the West Coast or the East Coast start with W?
No, all on the everything east of the Mississippi is W, and then west are K. So that's why you'll see KNBC in LA and things like that.
Wow, I did not know that.
Fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, for those of you just joining us, Mark Bunker is running for re-election for the Clearwater City Council. It is a hugely important election because Mark Bunker is the only council member who publicly takes a strong position on Scientology. And you better believe that Scientology is going to be unleashing torrents of cash to defeat Mark Bunker at the ballot box. Not only that, but the political action committees on I cringe whenever I'm about to say this because I'm so used to no politics on my channel. But
the establishment
honestly has an almost unlimited number of PAC money that they can throw at this election when they see how much money we're going to raise. It's kind of a double-edged sword. We have no choice but to raise a ton of money. But once they see how much money we're raising, they're going to throw a lot of PAC money at it, which is going to force us to raise even more money. But you know what?
Yeah.
What you going to do? So, guys, SPTV right now has about 1 million unique viewers per week. If all 1 million of you donate $1, we could probably get Mark Bunker elected governor.
Somebody said, why stop there? Go for president.
I was going to say president, but governor seemed a little more topical.
Fine. I'll take it.
Guys, I do have a link to Mark Bunker's campaign website in the description down below. If you're in the live chat, Goldie, please put the link to Mark's election campaign website in the description down below. You know, there's no point sandbagging people on how much money we've raised because we have to release monthly reports anyway. You know, I'm not officially working for the campaign, but the campaign has to release monthly fundraising reports. We've raised just over $7,000 in the last, has it been 2 days, 3 days, something like that?
Something like that. It has been no more than 2 days.
Yeah. And we're just getting started, guys. We have to raise no less than $100,000 over the next 6 months. And I say, let's just raise it this month. How about that?
Just as a reminder, because you mentioned this in the video we did yesterday. In my last race, in the entire 6 months of the campaign, I only raised $11,000 total. We've already reached $7,000, and we're going to be able to do so much more.
Yeah.
And today, let me just tell you about this. Today, I was making some phone calls, thanking people for making donations. A lot of times, I just get an answering machine, and I would leave a message, and someone called back, and I'm sure glad they did. It was a woman who was a Scientologist. She was a devoted, hardcore Scientologist in for a long time until I ran for office in 2020. And she got a phone call from Pat Harney, PR director of FLAG. And Pat called to say, what she was saying to all Scientologists at the time, there's a suppressive person running for council. You can't vote for them. And this woman said, well, who's the person? Well, I can't say because we're a church, so we can't divulge that. And the woman said, well, how am I going to not vote for him if I don't know who it is? And then she went, all right. I'm not supposed to say this, but it's Mark Bunker. And and that intrigued the woman enough that as soon as Pat got off the phone, she went online and did a search for Mark Bunker. And for the first time in her life, she started seeing negative stuff about Scientology. She started seeing the truth about Scientology. She saw what I had been going through. She saw all the interviews with people that I had done by that time. She saw the anonymous raids, and it just blew her mind. And she was out. And I got to tell you, she started by saying, Mark, you saved my life. And there are people who often say, I found out about this because of Scientology. And when I hear something like that, you saved my life, I think, well, that's nice. I'm sure glad that I helped you get out of Scientology. But then she went into the details about it. And I realized she's not kidding. She really did appreciate the fact that my running for campaign for the city council last election was the thing that got her out. It was the thing that woke up her eyes. So we have to keep going and go hard and have Pat Harney call and get a lot of people out for us.
That's right.
And this woman also, she told me she had been caught up in the Chase wave. You talked all about that scandal where they were, running up charges on people's credit cards without the people knowing. And so she was ripped off of like $85,000. And it took I think she said it took about a year, but she got the money back. After the scandal was revealed and Miscavige was trying to say, oh, I had nothing to do with this. Anyway, it was a great phone call, and I really appreciated hearing those stories.
Wow, that's incredible. Well, for you guys out there, just know that, due to campaign finance reporting requirements and everything, and the platforms that the platform that the campaign is using for the fundraising and the financial reporting, Mark will have the phone numbers and email addresses, or at least the email addresses of everyone who donates. And, if you make a donation, you should be expecting a call from Vice Mayor Mark Bunker.
Yeah, I think on the donation form, you probably have the option to put in a phone number. That's the way we get them.
Yeah. I don't know. Is it already hundreds of donors?
Oh gosh, I think so. I'd have to check the actual number. I've just been looking at the names, and we've got like 3 pages of them so far.
Yeah,
and it keeps growing.
It's a lot of phone calls.
Yep.
But thank God you don't have to fundraise with the phone calls. We can fundraise with the videos, and the phone calls are just to say thank you.
And I tell you, in my first campaign, my campaign managers were saying, you got to get on the phone, you got to beg for money. And I hated that. I did it a little bit, but nowhere near as much as they wanted me to. And that's why we only raised $11,000. Because it's very painful for me to say, hey, so being able to call and just say thank you, oh my God, that's so much easier. And I'm delighted to do that.
That's incredible. Well, since we have people's attention, and since you mentioned the Chase wave, I just want to put and since you mentioned Pat Harney's illegal campaign activity, for all you under the radar Scientologists in Clearwater, please, for the love of Xenu, record any and all phone calls you get from Scientology about this campaign. Even if you don't share them with me for 5 years from now, I don't care. Please record those suckers, keep them on file. We want to be able to prove that Scientology tells its people who to vote for and who to not vote for. And for any of you other folks out there who were victims of this massive systemic identity theft, credit card fraud, wire fraud that's come to be known as the Chase wave, if Scientology charged thousands to tens of thousands of dollars to hundreds of thousands of dollars on your credit cards without your permission, and you want that money back, email me at growingupinscientology@gmail.com, and I'll put you in touch with a lawyer that Scientology is terrified of. Scientology's just been writing checks to keep this lawyer off their back.
It's amazing how successful he has been.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, well, look, there's someone in the chat going, I'm sorry, but who's Mark? You know, this is the nature of the internet. Always assume that no one's ever heard anything you've ever said before. Just tell us who you are, Mark.
Well, my name is Mark Bunker, and I was never in Scientology, but I started to get really fascinated by Scientology. I first saw a piece on 60 Minutes back in 1980 where Mike Wallace came here to town because Scientology had snuck into Clearwater and tried to take it over, and that was a big story. And it was a really fascinating episode of 60 Minutes, but there was no internet back then. So after the show was over, you couldn't do much research on this. So, it just goes into the back of the mind. And decades later, I moved to LA, and I'm driving down Sunset Boulevard with a friend of mine who was a coworker. And she said to me, as we passed Big Blue, their huge building on Sunset, she said, "What do you know about those people?" And I said, "Well, I know it's created by a science fiction writer, and it's pretty much a money-making thing. That's about all." And she never said another word. And then months later, one of our coworkers, because I started to look more and more into this and was talking about Scientology at work, somebody said, "Well, she's a Scientologist." And I went, "What?" I mean, we spent every day together, and she was delightful. We had so much fun. But once I discovered that, I started looking back at a lot of exchanges that we had during that entire year that we were hanging out. And there were so many things that fit the Scientology pattern. I saw a therapist for a couple of months, and she was begging me to stop seeing this person, and then saying, "Well, just sleep with her. They all sleep with their patients." And she said, "I want to do your therapy. I'll do it. Stop seeing her. I'll do your therapy." And I said, "Are you kidding? I'm not going to turn my therapy over to you." No, I really liked her, but she was like Lucy Carmichael, and I Love Lucy, a delightful ditzy person who I don't know if I'd go turn to her first for therapy. But I did say, "Okay, I'll let you practice." And she gave me an auditing session without telling me what it was. And I just found it pretty damn annoying. "Okay, tell that story again, only give more details." And again, and again. Oh, that's enough.
Wow. That's incredible.
So then I got hooked up with a bunch of folks who were former members, and I moved here in 2000 to work for the Lisa McPherson Trust, which was a group set up as a watchdog group to help people who were abused and defrauded out of Scientology, trying to help them out. And that's when I first arrived here in Clearwater and got to know the former mayor, Gabe Casares, who was in charge when Scientology snuck into town, and they tried to destroy Gabe.
I didn't know you actually knew him.
Oh, yeah, I knew Gabe well. He was a friend. And also retired Police Lieutenant Ray Emmons, who was in charge of the investigation for like 20 years before he retired. So both of them were still ardent foes. But Gabe especially had reason to be upset because they tried to set him up on a hit and run accident. They did all these covert activities to try to ruin his marriage. They would have young girls call up and say to his wife, "Is Gabe there? I'm supposed to meet with Gabe." And
no, I didn't know that.
That's one of the written plans that they put in place. They told me about that one, and they derailed a run he was making for, I think, Senate or state Senate, something like that. But the most evil thing, once the FBI, and stop me if you're bored, but I hope you're not with this. Once the FBI raided Scientology's headquarters in LA and Washington, D.C., and uncovered all of these tens of thousands of documents about all these covert operations against not just Clearwater, but also the U.S. government, the most damning information, all written out step by step. Here's what we have to do to destroy them. And Scientology was on trial, essentially. Hubbard's wife, Mary Sue Hubbard, went to prison along with, 10 other high-ranking officials for these covert operations. And it's remarkable. So Gabe sued Scientology after that. And Gabe was at his golf club one weekend, and there was a guy who came up to him and said, "Hey, I'm an attorney, and I really would love to handle your case. You should hire me to do your case." So Gabe did. They became friends, and he gave him the job. And it turned out that guy was a Scientologist that they sent in specifically to befriend him and his wife and get that case so they could botch it. That is unbelievably evil. Here's when you're an attorney, you're supposed to take an oath to obey the law. This is against the law, brother. He lost his license here in Florida to practice law. I don't know how much it affected his career in other states, but it should have been the end of his career. I don't think it was, because we had a letter that this guy, I think his name was Merrill Vanier.
Yes.
Yeah, and I've read this letter. I may have a copy of it somewhere, but he wrote, "Dear Gabe, it's been a little while, and I'm hoping that you might write a letter to help me get my license back." The nerve. And of course, Gabe did not do that for the poor fella.
Wow.
Oh my God. Once you hear some of these stories and you start hearing more and more and more, just completely insane things that can't possibly be true, but they are, it's just is endlessly fascinating. So I had moved out of Clearwater for 13 years. And at some point I decided, I'd like to come back to Clearwater. And I moved back here in 2013 and have been here. Finally ran for office, which I was hoping to do when I came back here, and won and saved a woman's life. So I think the journey has been worthwhile.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And for those who may not know, the Lisa McPherson Trust, and correct me if you think this analogy is appropriate. In some ways, it was a precursor to what is now the Aftermath Foundation.
Yes. Absolutely.
Where the people who were involved in running that thing were very long tenured former Sea Org members, really knew what they were doing, what they were up against. And whereas the foundation more focuses on, I guess it's funny because the Aftermath Foundation focuses on helping people leaving Scientology. And yet we as board members, meaning the individuals who are on the board, we in our non-board member lives kind of do the Scientology expose work, if you will. Yeah. And the Lisa McPherson Trust kind of did both of those things just under its umbrella. Is that correct?
Yes. I was in charge of the media. So I was always wandering everywhere with a nice camera and filming pickets and doing interviews with folks who had left. And some of the interviews we did back then they're all on my website still and on YouTube. And they still are helping people. We had the Woodcraft family come. The father left Scientology. They were all in the Sea Org, and he managed to get his 2 young daughters out. Astra was the oldest of the daughters. She got pregnant hoping that this would allow her to escape, and she did manage to get out because she was not going to go along with their demands for her to get an abortion. And so when we were doing the interview with the family, her young, very, very young daughter was there with her, and it was heartwarming. And then they had to get Zoe out, the younger daughter. And she was left behind here in Clearwater, and they had to make plans to, surreptitiously be waiting outside the gate at the right moment she came out so she could hop in the car and they would speed away. No one should have to do anything like this. If you're upset with what's going on in your church, you walk out the door. If you say, "Hey, I'm not happy about this," and they're not going to change, you just say, "Well, I mean, that's it for me. I'll find another church." Not in Scientology. Not when you've signed a billion-year contract. And it's just amazing that Scientology doesn't understand how wrong that is and how it looks to the world at large.
Yeah. Well, guys, I've sort of made a commitment, a pact, a pledge that Mark and I are going to do short live streams every single day for the next 6 months of the campaign, just to keep getting the word out, keep raising as much funds as possible. But if you also oh, wait, hold on. I didn't share the screen appropriately. I keep making this mistake today. I'm not on my game today. If you guys go over to Mark Bunker's YouTube channel, Mark Bunker, at Mark Bunker, we will, well, I don't know. I don't want to commit you to doing 2 videos a day, but, but I think there will be other campaign related content that you'll be able to see on Mark's channel, specifically some highlights from the upcoming council work sessions, council meetings, city related stuff, so that, people in Clearwater who, anyway, I have a whole lot of ideas, and Mark has a whole lot of ideas for how he can put his YouTube channel to work, especially after he wins the election. It's amazing how council members don't, let's be honest, and I don't know, let me know if you think I'm full of crap here. They seem to think just saying what you say at the meetings is okay, but nobody watches these council meetings. Nobody watches these council meetings. I just feel like these meetings need to be more accessible to the people who just want to tune in and look at their device and see what happened at the work session today without watching a 3-hour video.
Yeah, they're accessible. They're just not that fascinating for the most part. We do a lot of dull stuff, and then there's usually 2 or 3 important things that we talk about during that meeting. But to watch the whole thing, that's why occasionally I'll break out a piece from it, and I'll see if I can do more of that.
Awesome. Well, let's see. There's a few super chats we're going to get to, but quick reminder, guys, Mark Bunker's campaign website is linked in the description down below. It's in the live chat, and I'll make it the pinned comment on this video for the replay. If you're watching this video, please consider making a donation to Mark's campaign. We are going to have a hell of a fight. I mean, this is Scientology's first opportunity to get a big bad SP kicked out of office. And look, if they can't do it, they're screwed forever. If they couldn't keep you from getting elected and they can't keep you from getting reelected, man, these guys are screwed.
Well, they should be able to do it. They have the tech. 100% tech works 100% of the time.
Touche. Professor Chaos says city residents get what they get when they keep voting for Scientology-backed candidates. The Clearwater City Council is completely corrupt. Okay. All right. Robot 303, can I donate being from Australia? Nope. You got to be a United States citizen to donate. That's the donation form has all the fields that you have to put the information in to make sure you're a U.S. citizen. We do believe, though, if a U.S. citizen living abroad, you should still be able to donate, but
we should check with that. I'll ask our city attorney on Tuesday when I see him.
Okay, good. And if that's not accurate, I'll correct the record officially.
It makes sense that it should be the case because you can definitely vote in at least nationwide elections.
Exactly.
So we'll see.
Exactly. Cynthia Baker says, wouldn't it be better to donate another way to stop YouTube from taking the 30%? Just asking. Cynthia, yes. Super chats are not donations to the campaign. You have to go to the campaign website, markbunker2024.com. Oh, that's what I should do. I should create a little banner and put it up on the screen. That's so stupid of me.
That'd be nice.
Well, hey, we got like 180 videos left. We'll do it.
There you go.
Just check the description down below.
That is a question, though, that I got from somebody. I want to donate, but I don't want 30% going to YouTube. And I explained, well, no, it doesn't go to YouTube at all. We have a professional company that does this for campaigns all across the country, and they take 3% off the top. And, it's remarkably good service that they provide.
That's right. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Thank you, as always, to everyone who watches until the very end, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not, subscribe.